having now a side hustle of its own, if that's the right phrase, in GRAFT.shop. Is that where you mentioned before about the personal passion and you wanted something away from digital marketing and things like that? Is that where that store came from, to say this is something that there's not really any pressure on in terms of paying the personal bills, like you mentioned before, because you have to have that income to support yourself, your family, and everything else? Was Grafted like a passion project kind of thing where you look at it and think, if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, I haven't really lost too much?
Yeah, it's the point, you've been running a business for coming up to 5 years, and how much time it requires. You start to get your grasp on the planning and the project management side of things and the communication and all that sort of thing. And I mean, to be honest, I didn't plan on starting Graft. I always planned on something creative, because I that's like an outlet for me. I need something to kind of digital marketing can be creative, but it's a different type of creativity. I like graphic design and things. I don't do graphic. I'm not a graphic designer, but I like the opportunity to mess around. I don't know, create my own tattoos or create my own logos. I absolutely love the process of starting a brand. Whether it was Carved, whether it was Profoundry, whether it was Graft, I love that process. And I thought to myself, how can I get a business that lets me do that a lot, and a merchandising business like Graft, where I can produce different designs, whether that's Manchester themed designs or, I don't know, all seeing eye designs, whatever it is, and put them on clothes. And if I can get my system right with drop shipping and logistics and all that, then I can test things. And as you said, it doesn't have to be the be all and end all that making money. It can just be a side project. That's the sort of definition for me, I suppose, is the lack of pressure to have that project or business making your sole income. Essentially, it can be a bit of a self
kind of thing.
Something fun. It's money. It creates money, but it's not. Its job isn't to create money. Its job is to create. I give you a passion, or fuel that passion, or fuel your creativity and have a bit of fun. When you've got to the point where you've built a business up that's funding your lifestyle and your business world, then you can do that, I think. And I intend to carry on that theme of having these ideas for businesses and taking them until the point of failure, rather than this concept of like, oh, that's a good idea, I wonder if someone's done that, and then just leaving it. Graft was something that I took further, and since then I've had 2 business ideas that I've taken further than idea, to the point where they've failed and they aren't at the moment a viable business. But I took them to the point where I figured that out. I didn't just talk about them.
Leave them on the table.
Yeah.
So then with Graft, where does I know this is a kind of a crazy question because it can come from anywhere, but is there a specific place where the inspiration comes from? Like, there's a lot of Manchester related designs on there, and there's some entrepreneurial quotes and things like that, and sayings and all this kind of stuff. Where do you get your inspiration from, or what kind of fuels the creativity behind Graft?
So the whole thing started really with the Manchester bombing. That seemed to sort of, obviously I've lived in Manchester for 11.5 years now, and after the bombing, Manchester as a brand just became so strong. Like the B, which the council have been using for years and Manchester has been using for years, with its industrial past, became like such a strong sort of symbol. I thought I'd have a play doing my own version of a Manchester themed logo. And then I did that, and I created some T-shirts for myself and for the missus. She wore them into her office at the time, and I wore them around, and people started saying, I'll have one of those. And then when I had about sort of 30 plus orders from people, I realized, why don't I know how to create sites. I've done it in the past. Just use Shopify, create a website, people can order them, find a drop shipping provider, job done. Like, they can just basically do it all themselves, and I don't have to do anything. So I did that. And then the drop shipping provider also sold clothes and tote bags and whatever else. So I started offering more stuff. And then the carved influence of the laser engraved wood started to come in, where I realized like wooden key rings would be awesome, laser engraved. And wooden combs and stuff. I just started experimenting and doing testing of different products, and then I use Instagram and Twitter to test whether people are interested in it, and if people were, I would then do a little order, and then it's just gone from there. I joined with Forever Manchester's charity to start contributing to them, and carried on really with whatever people want, whatever people buy. I tend to just kind of push that and make more of that, or make different versions of that, or whatever. So yeah, now we're in 2 Zypherblats, which are like cafes that you pay per minute. Anco's General Store in Anco's, selling the key rings, and then got the combs in 2 Baba Barber stores, one in Hale and one in Deansgate, and then a barber in Ancoats and a barber in Northern Quarter. So yeah, it's just kind of gone into the point where I'm selling in stores as well. But it's not meant to be like, I'm not interested in going to Selfridges or anything like that. It's all small batch, independent stuff, bit of fun. I'm not interested in getting it to the point where it starts to stress me out. When it is stressing me out, I start to try and realize why, and then maybe cut back a bit or have a little break, because it's not about that. It's not about having something that makes lots and lots of money. Great, I've made £300 for Forever Manchester so far since March, which is nice.
Yeah.
Obviously, I make a profit as well. I'm not going to run a business that makes a loss, but it's not meant to take over. My dad always kind of warns me, like, make sure Profoundry's still running, and of course it's not. It's not. That's not suffered at all. It's just something else, really. It's just as you call it, a side hustle, yeah. And I don't want it to become necessarily anything else.
So how do you split your time between the two then? Because it's interesting from a main income point of view to this is something that I can play with. I'm happy to keep it small and sustainable and not really take much time and stuff like that. The site looks great and the designs are really, really clever. I think I was having a little mooch around the site over the last couple of days and seeing the different things and stuff like that. So how then do you say Profoundry is the number one in the day, but there's also orders to place, or there's barbers asking for the combs, or there's small stores asking for the t-shirts and stuff like that? Is it a 80-20 split, 50-50 split? How does that work?
I've never run a business that works 9 to 5, and I don't. When I say that, I mean I set out to not conform to 9 to 5. What's the point in going solo and then working the same way everyone else does? Your productivity peaks and troughs do not conform to 9 to 5. Some people are productive in the morning, some people in the afternoon, some people in the evening. So I'm kind of, people at work in my co-working space take the piss out of me because I come in at 11, leave at 3, something like that.
Nice. But living the dream, 11 till 3.
Yeah, with technology, it's my mobile phone's virtually a laptop in itself, and I've got lots of apps that help me and stuff. You don't need to be sat in front of a computer to be doing business. So with the balance, I just know that once my Profoundry stuff in that day, the priorities and the things I wanted to achieve that day are finished, the rest of the time can be graft, basically. But graft doesn't take up. It's made to not take up much time. So
was that a conscious decision to say you would use drop shippers and third parties rather than source the product yourself? It was a conscious decision from you and the business to say it will not take up much time.
It was a time and logic decision. I mean, think about it. If you aren't using drop shipping, you've got to buy in stock that sits in somewhere, and I don't have loads of room anywhere, whether it's my house or my office, to hold loads of stock. So you've then got stock that you're then pressured to sell, versus if I found a company that integrate with Shopify so that all of their products, the orders go straight through to their system from Shopify to their system. I mean, don't get me wrong, not everything's drop shipped. All the wooden key rings, combs, all that is essentially done in batch orders of 25 to 50 items, and then I held them in boxes in my office and then distributed out and sold on Etsy and sold on Shopify and sold in stores. But all the clothing and the tote bags and stuff like that, and the slate coasters and the hip flasks and things, if I can drop ship it, I will, over anything else. But it's just logic. Like, I don't want to hold lots of stock. I don't want to have lots of money tied up in stock. I don't want to have lots of time posting stuff out, because that takes a lot of time. So yeah, it was a decision that if I can simplify things, why wouldn't I? It doesn't have to be, if you have a business selling merch, this is how it's done. You know, dropshipping is a great way of getting around stuff. And don't get me wrong, you know, you've still got to deal with managing screw ups from dropshipping companies and printers and stuff. But I think in the long term, it works out better. It allows me to spend more time on the fun stuff for Graft and the hard work for Profoundry. Yeah.
So then, if there's, we've talked a lot about your agency side, your start on Profoundry and start on Graft and all them kinds of things. If there's one thing that any of our listeners are new to side hustling or freelancing or things like that, is there any tips that you would say top 3 that you would say you should really get this in order, or you should try this over that? What would be your startup recommendations?
There's no perfect time to start a business is a key one. I think people, of course, you know, you can save loads of money. So if everything fails, you know, that's probably a good idea. You know, getting experience, of course, is crucial and stuff, but it's not really something, you know, you can wait and wait and wait. But I don't know, I think there's never a perfect time to start a business. But when you do start one, sort of planning to succeed but preparing to fail is always a good idea. So rather than having like blinders on that it's just going to work, what happens if it doesn't work? You know, what happens if business doesn't come in? What are you going to do? What happens if that doesn't work? What are you going to do? What happens if you don't get money? What are you going to do? Because all those, you know, that could happen, and it's feast and famine running a business, whether it's a service or product business. You'll have peaks and troughs of, you know, suddenly you've got lots of work, suddenly you've got no work. You can't control it to a degree. You can control the flow of clients, like inbound clients and stuff, I suppose. But you could have, you know, if you have your eggs in 3 clients' baskets, and then Brexit happens and you lose them all or whatever, then you have to start again, you know. So that's something. Surround yourself by supportive people is probably a good tip. So you often get all the naysayers come out of their holes when you say you're going to quit your business and start a business. You know, it's everyone from your colleague to your nan to your parents to your brother, whatever, will often go, "You're mad, don't do this, don't do that, I can't believe you're doing it, blah blah." Loads of people just can't get their head around the fact that this is becoming a norm for people to actually run their own business, remotely or not. And at the end of the day, it's going to be on you to do it. If you're running a business on your own or with a business partner, it's going to be on you to do everything. You'll be sales, you'll be accounts until you have an accountant, you'll be doing the invoicing, you'll be doing the service delivery, whatever it is, all the comms. So it doesn't, so long as you believe you can do it, it doesn't really matter what all these people are saying. But it is a lonely existence. So surrounding yourself by, you know, going to networking events and going to meetups and all that sort of thing, and just meeting people and not sitting in your office or your home office or whatever it is, wishing people would come to you. That's never going to happen. You might as well go out. It doesn't matter if there's an agenda or not behind meeting someone. Go and, you know, make new contacts, because you never know where it'll lead. And it's nice to have someone here, like find someone who's done it, something similar. It doesn't mean like they set up the same business, but they've done something, they've gone solo in the last few years, and go and meet them and get a bit of mentoring from them. I mean, I wish I had someone who had set up a digital marketing business or solo to go and talk to, because I didn't, and it would have been quite nice to bounce ideas off and make sure I'm going down the right routes. And then separating work and personal lives, I think that's really important. I think it's so easy when you run your own business to take work home, whether it's having an office that is your office, somewhere separate where you can't even see your computer when you're hanging out in the lounge, or getting into a co-working space like I have done, which is really, really good, because then you've